All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Hawashai, Ba'ashem Kodash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Ravenstone, Shalom to the elect wishing this word in truth and in sincerity, with the hope of receiving mercy for Yahweh, Ba'ashem Hawashai. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh is the name of his only begotten Son. These so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans are Israelites according to the prophecies that are written in the scriptures. I want to make it known that the RFID microchip is the MOTB. The serpent juice is the precursor to the MOTB. Yahushua, whom dwelling at the called Jesus, is about to make his return upon the earth to deliver his elect and to pour out judgment as it is written. So I want to go straight into this lesson concerning wars and rumors of wars. And this lesson is going to be a very short and quick lesson, just showing you a couple clips of reportings going on now, showing you the times that we're in, as written in 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 1. So the times are never cease since brethren, you have no need that I write unto you. And it is very evident by the signs that are playing out now, the times that we're in here. We're in the times of war. And these times were foretold by the prophets that have been before us. As Jeremiah have said, the prophets that have been before us prophesy both against many countries and great kingdoms of war, evil, and of pestilence. And Yahweh Shemashaya put the Spirit upon us to do likewise in these last days. They declare the end of this age. So I'm going to go straight into this. This is Matthew 24 verse 1. And as I sat upon the mount of the olives, the disciples came unto him. And as he sat upon the mount of the olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am a Mashiach, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. And a lot of people don't understand what they're really seeing transpiring around the world. These events where it's taking place is ushering the end of this age, the end of this current rulership. And we rejoice at the fall of this kingdom, because this kingdom must be rooted out for the kingdom of Israel to be established upon the earth. And when we say Israel, we're not talking about those that dwell in the land as we speak. We're talking about the true descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who are you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. So let's dive straight into these clips so you can hear of the rumors. And as the scripture says, be ye not troubled, yo. See that ye be not troubled. Because we know these events must come to pass. We have a major event that we're looking to come to pass, which is the RFID microchip being mandated around the world, which is the MOTB. Whether you want to believe it or no, it's going to be very evident in the times to come that it is.
You may think that I'm bothered by what I'm about to tell you, but I'm not, because I'm prepared. Which is not to say that I look forward to it, because it's going to be hell. We are closer to nuclear war than we've ever been in the nuclear age. That's an objective reality. There were periods throughout the Cold War where we were intermittently at a higher state of risk. Maybe there was some accidents that forced the presidents to call each other on the red line in the middle of the night, but by and large, there wasn't a high-intensity conflict raging between the Soviet Union and NATO at the time, which was much smaller at that time. Nowadays, we have a nuclear superpower with its back up against the wall who views this current crisis as being an existential threat to its sovereignty, who is running out of options every single day, and they have just now ratified a revised version of their nuclear doctrine, which will permit them to utilize non-conventional weaponry under the right circumstances. Circumstances, I should add, that already exist. The conditions to precipitate a nuclear event have never been so numerous. And when you read this revised Russian nuclear doctrine, it is incredibly detailed. And I'm going to read you some of it today, and we can try to do a little bit of brainstorming in terms of understanding what NATO is going to do with this information. What I fear most is radio silence. We've been privileged up until this point, and this occurred to me today. It's very seldom that I have a revelation anymore. The further you get into the weeds with this stuff, the more seldom and more rare those aha moments are. But I had one today. And it's that we've become so accustomed to NATO and Russia telegraphing their next move, because this is a form of negotiation. We've just taken for granted the idea that NATO is broadcasting every single play it is going to make in Ukraine. And we've just presumed that this is so Russia doesn't, find out on their own and risk escalation in that way. Maybe it's because countries have to maintain their financial books, or maybe it's to be in line with certain international laws. But there is no law, as far as I know, that suggests that the United States has to tell the world a damn thing about what they provide Ukraine. We just presume when they say, hey, we're going to send some tanks, some F-16s, some Patriots, some ATACMS, HIMARS, we just presume that that's how it's supposed to be played. But how war is really played is when you don't hear anything. And need I remind people that at the time of signing this nuclear doctrine and putting it into law, there is no Russian ambassador in the United States. And we are in a situation for the next 2 months, to be exact, right on the nose, 60 days, we have a lame duck president and an apparent conflict of interest between this president and the next president that might create some incentive to create chaos before January 20th comes. We don't really truly appreciate how spoiled we've been with all this information about escalation. This nuclear red line today and some statements made by the NATO chief and other officials within NATO suggest that they are ready to cross Russia's red line. Now, we're going to read the nuclear doctrine, and we're going to see what exactly is that going to mean. Does that mean that it's going to escalate to the use of tactical nuclear weapons immediately? Or are we just talking about an Article 5 situation? Article 5, as some strategists have stated, would almost immediately lead to the potential for a nuclear strike. Like, that would be immediate DEFCON 2, because Article 5 presumes that NATO is about to fight Russia. Ergo, Russia would want to act first to preempt NATO's actions and do a first strike. So this is why Article 4 or 5 would likely happen covertly. And I think we're entering a period of time where they may no longer broadcast exactly what they're about to do, because that negotiating tactic no longer works. Now, I will say something before we get into this, because there's a lot of continuity of government, because that negotiating tactic no longer works. Now, I will say something before we get into this, because there's a lot of continuity of government going on here. Whether people want to admit it or not, one thing is true. Both Trump and Biden are both Americans. And at the end of the day, the enmity that exists between the Republicans and the Democrats is not greater than the one that exists between American leadership and Russian and Chinese and Iranian leadership and North Korean leadership. That is, those relationships are stronger than Trump and Vladimir Putin. And anyone who tries to suggest otherwise, you have no idea what you're talking about. And why I say this is because you'll notice that in the last 48 hours, since that unofficial announcement was made that the United States is going to be removing restrictions on strikes deep inside Russia so that Ukraine can maintain its foothold inside Russian territory, since that announcement was made, we have not heard one specific condemnation of this policy change by Trump or by Trump's national security advisor. People are going to falsely cite statements made by Mike Waltz recently, where he rather ambiguously, in a very roundabout way, kind of...
I turned into a supervillain, bullied by superheroes. I was forced to do a walk of shame because I'm an...
So President Biden is trying to start World War III as we speak, before he leaves office, it seems, or at least the deep state puppets are actively trying to do this behind the scenes. Congress is now calling for impeachment under the 25th Amendment, hearing from a number of representatives calling for this right now, and Europe is bracing for nuclear war this afternoon. A few hours ago, of course, President Trump pledged to end the war between Russia and Ukraine, called for an immediate cessation of violence, and then within a few short hours after that, President Biden and NATO decided to launch long-range weapons inside of Russia for the very first time. And here was the front page of the New York Post: Ukraine reportedly using long-range missiles, first time to blow up Russian weapons facility as Putin issues a nuke warning to America. Here was the Wall Street Journal: Ukraine uses U.S.-provided long-range missiles in Russia for the first time. And it was almost immediate, like right after President Biden gave the green light to do this, Zelensky and NATO, with the coordination of NATO. Make no mistake, this is not just Ukraine doing this. This is NATO coordination and this attack. And now we have, of course, the move to bring President Biden and remove him from office. That's right, using Article 25, or the 25th Amendment, excuse me, and impeach President Biden. The congressman who's drafting that legislation right now, the articles of impeachment, is Congressman Keith Self from Texas, and he joins us now from Capitol Hill. Congressman, good to see you. Welcome to Redacted. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on this important issue.
Congressman, what prompted you to jump into this and to say we're going to draft articles of impeachment? This is a violation of the Constitution.
Well, I have drafted articles of impeachment. I've sent them to the lead shop. We have language back. But what I'm asking for before I drop these articles is I'm asking for a briefing, because we don't know what the president authorized. We don't know if he put any parameters on it. We don't know if he put any exceptions on it. So that's what I've asked for, and I have energized them with these draft impeachment articles. So I'm looking for them to tell me and to tell the American people, what did you approve? Because you're exactly right. We have outsourced our military decisions to Ukraine. They're not an ally. Yes, we have the agreement from 2014, but this could be an impeachable offense depending on what he said, what he authorized, and what...
I must say them are not ally, but they must fight your proxy war for you. Don't it? So I'm just go through various clips showing you what's really going on.
Just one final bit of breaking news. We're hearing that the Russians are reporting that Ukraine has now used these attack and ballistic missiles. More on that later.
Yeah, it looks like an escalation is coming. Okay.
This morning, Ukraine fired U.S.-made missiles into Russia for the first time. That's according to officials in Moscow. The move comes just 2 days after President Biden gave Ukraine permission.
And a major escalation on the 1,000th day of the war. The attack comes just 2 days after the Biden administration gave Ukraine the green light to use the weapons against targets inside Russia. The White House policy change comes after North Korean troops were deployed to help drive Ukrainian soldiers out of Russia's Kursk border region. Overnight, Russian President Putin signed a new doctrine saying any major aerial attack against Russia could prompt reprisals with nuclear weapons. A spokesperson for Putin says this adds fuel to the fire.
This news comes a few hours after Russian President Vladimir Putin said the country has a right to respond to an attack like this one with nuclear weapons.
Putin has a new warning for the United States after President Biden authorized Ukraine to use long-range missiles supplied by the U.S. to strike inside Russia.
The Russian anti-missile system apparently downed 5 out of 6 of these missiles, and the Russian Defense Ministry says Ukraine hit Russia with these missiles. Feels like a significant escalation. Does the U.S. and the U.S. actually, and President Biden gave the blessing to Vladimir Zelensky to use these very big missiles a couple of days ago. Does that come with the guarantee that if Russia escalates, the U.S. is there to protect them?
Well, I think that this is a slew of questions that we do not yet have the answers to, Francine. And just to recap some of the news that we just got in the last few minutes, because this all feels fairly significant, is what we got from Vladimir Putin was signing into a decree allowing Russia to fire nuclear weapons in response to any kind of massive conventional attack on its soil. That would include drones, that would include presumably long-range missiles, that Russia would view aggression against itself or its allies by non-nuclear state backed by other nuclear powers as a joint attack. In summary, basically saying that if there was an attack on Russia by a member of a coalition, that will be seen as an attack by sort of the full coalition, i.e., even if it's a non-nuclear power aided by a nuclear power, that would be seen as a joint attack. This is something that Putin has been talking about signing into as a decree since September. This is officially happening now.
The fact that we knew that Ukraine were going to be able to use these missiles in a slightly different way, was certainly with a further reach. This perhaps comes
as you can see, across major mainstream news media, that's the only thing that they're speaking on now, is the events transpiring between Ukraine and Russia. They're not even focusing on what's taking place over there in the Middle East anymore. But these are the times that we're in which you're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars, as the scripture are foretold. So going back to the scripture, I said I'm not going to make this video very long. So this is Jeremiah, I want to say 51, verse 45. It said, "My people, go ye out of the midst of her," and midst of her there is talking about Babylon, which is America. "And deliver ye every man his soul from the fierce anger of Yahweh." And that every man, the Lord I talk about, is talking about the elect of the nation of Israel, those that trust in Yahweh, meaning to turn unto your Redeemer. "Unless your hearts faint, and ye fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land." And people are going to start hear more of these type of rhetoric here, more of these type of rumors, these escalation of wars and rumors of wars. "A rumor shall both come one ear, and after that in another ear shall come a rumor, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler." And these are the times that are coming upon the earth, whether you believe it is or not. Remember when the Lord declared in Matthew 24 verse 7 and made mention of nation are going to rise against nation and kingdoms against kingdoms. And him tell you about the famine and the pestilence and the earthquake in diverse places. And say all these are the beginning of sorrows. And if you know what sorrows entail, second is just paint you a nice picture of what it is, what it's going to be like. This is second is just 16 verse 18 says, "The beginning of sorrows and great mourning." This is like a title, yo. The beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. And this is why the powers are going to stand in fear, due to what? Nuclear capabilities of these various countries around the world, yo. "And the powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come?" And we're in the time in which Yahweh shall bring evils upon the earth. Whether you believe this or not, the scripture said, what if some did not believe? Shall your unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect? God forbid. Yahweh Hashem Yahshua is about to bring terror upon the earth. So this is defined for the elect. With that I want to say Kalalal, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kodesh. Shalom.